I came across this article from Reuters, and it goes perfectly with a lot of the things that I am seeing as I scroll these social media platforms. Despair makes young U.S. men more conservative ahead of U.S. election, poll shows. Let's get into this one. A large global survey issued on Friday showed a surge in despair and disillusionment with established politics, particularly among young American men, the only U.S. population group to turn more conservative over the past decade. The study by international research agency Glocalities shared with Reuters offered context for the November's U.S. presidential poll and the plethora of votes worldwide, including the EU parliamentary election in June. A survey respondents to determine their position on a scale of optimism between hope and despair, and on another between control and freedom. In other words, conservatism and liberalism. On average, the world became more liberal between 2014 and 2023, even as it became more pessimistic, according to the more than 300,000 surveys in 20 countries, representing nearly 60% of the global population. Young people the world over feel especially let down by society, says Martijan Lampert, head of research at Glocalities, adding that the surge in despair among young adults in the U.S. far outweighs the rise in despair among young adults in the EU countries. Most strikingly, young U.S. men were the only population in the United States or 7 EU states actually to have become more conservative since 2014, or in the polls terms, to favor more control rather than freedom. These young men are failing and flailing, and they want to grab control from other people. They want to control other people. In total, 14,526 Americans were polled between 2014 and 2023, including 2,242 men aged 18 to 34. Worldwide, feelings of hopelessness, societal disillusionment, and rebelling against cosmopolitan values partly explain the rise of radical right anti-establishment parties, Lambert said, citing elections in several European countries. Social media algorithms were magnifying the trend by drawing moderately conservative young men towards more extreme and radical conservative male role models and worldviews. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about here, or what this is talking about. The report also highlighted a sharp difference between the world's young men and young women. Both were worried about career prospects, financial security, and education, but while men aged 18 to 24 overtook men aged 55 to 70 as the most socially conservative group, women of 18 to 24 grew more liberal and anti-patriarchal. Y'all, this is the reason why I said that this is a good article. On a scale of on a scale where 1 represents the most conservative and 5 the most liberal, women worldwide 18 to 24 moved from 3.55 in 2014 to 3.78 in 2023, both easily the highest for any age group. Men of the same age moved from 3.29 to 3.36, and in the U.S., men of age 18 to 34 became less liberal, dropping from 3.48 to 3.46. So the men overall jumped a little bit. They got a little bit more liberal, but the men in the United States specifically got more conservative. Globally, young women are likely the most liberal group in human history, the report said. Young women were worried above all about social issues such as sexual harassment, DV, child abuse, and neglect. Young men were more geared toward achieving social and economic status and set store by conservative family values and competition, bravery, and honor. If the report offered a glimmer of optimism, it was among the world's men and women over age 55, the only groups to become generally more hopeful over the decade, as well as more liberal. Respondents were asked 43 questions to assess where they ranked. To gauge social values, localities assessed their views about patriarchy, gender role flexibility, same-sex marriage, and cohabitation before marriage. The measurement of sentiment focused on future prospects and feelings about being let down by society. So Women are getting more anti-patriarchal. And this is something that I have seen because I scan platforms across the board and I have a global community. I am consistently watching women and their comments, and I'm doing this across culture, across country of origin. I'm seeing lots of women opt out. I'm seeing more and more calls of 4B, no dating, no marriage, no sexual relations with men, and no babies. And I believe that as more women pull back, men are failing and flailing because their prospects of getting a live-in bang maid are diminishing. So many people are saying things like 4B and West 4B won't work, but they don't know that women have been pulling back for a while because as more and more women get a taste of freedom, aka moving towards more liberalism, we're not going to go back. And men are losing that control. And instead of being decent human beings, they double down and now they're turning more conservative. Now, this is something that I just came across because the Twitter is the place that I go to watch men rail on women. It just happens. Okay, so this is one of the people that I follow, Radfem Future. She said, a pick me getting owned by a male she is trying to pander to. Many such cases. So this blonde girl right here is a pick me. She is trying to stroke the ego of a man, yet this man is still railing on her. Let's look at this interaction. Okay, so this person named City Bra says Broski got suspended after making 10 million. Old women mad. So sad. Let's do it again. So I guess Broski said something about this blonde girl. Look at how goofy and happy she is. You can't have these types of dates with women over 25. They're too bitter. Now, that woman, I guess, is Jessica Kathleen. She says, I'm 25, married, and have 3 babies, and completely agree. So she agrees that women over 25 are too bitter and they're not going to be this happy. But she's married, so she's not even available. So this man, despite the fact that that woman was agreeing with him, he says, cutie, you need to lose some weight, though. Just a little. So he still had to come for this woman. And she's still trying to gain his validation. She says, that's what happens when you have 3 babies in 3 years. You gain some weight. My husband's not complaining. And he says, that's okay. Having beautiful new life gets you some leniency, but trust me, lose the weight or accept him effing a young, skinny girly on the side. Now, this is something that these men do. They let you know that you are only as useful as you are pretty, that you are only as beautiful, but you can be upgraded. You can be exchanged. Your lifespan as a wife appliance has a time limit. And when women pander to these types, they get this wake up call because a lot of these men on social media, like this article is saying, simply do not like women. And it's coming through because a lot of these talking points come directly from the red pill manosphere type. Anyway, some of the commentary on this. Seeing these interactions make me cringe every time. She's trying to say all the right things to appease misogynists and ends up just being another target for their misogyny. I've seen many of these examples. And try to con men, these right wingers are pushing more women, liberal, feminist, whatever. They're pushing it because women see these interactions and recognize that women are only as valuable as they are pretty. So what's the purpose in even interacting with them? This is the reason why they're going to push more women 4B and West 4B. Alicia says, I think they hate them most, as in the pygmies. They have a deep hatred for their lack of self-respect and love to make fun of that. Even if she lost some weight, the man would do it more, since he knows he is unaccountable in his actions. Men obsess over women they have no control over. Radfem Future says, yes, they absolutely do hate pygmies the most because they hate themselves and they know they ain't Jeannie says they haven't processed yet the fact that these men hate all women. I believe they have a particular joy in knocking down women they know need a man's validation. As more women say F it to getting a man's validation, more and more of these insults are going to come. So women need to be prepared for it and stop looking for the head pats from men and create community with more and more women and just start getting prepared. Coalesce with your women friends. Get prepared for what is coming because men are going to keep acting like that man. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I follow a woman named Femdetta on Facebook, and one of her comments said, being forced to stay married because it's illegal for a woman to divorce a man or because no fault divorce doesn't exist isn't unconditional love. Staying married in order to avoid the social stigma of being a divorced woman or a single mother isn't unconditional love. Staying married because you were brainwashed to believe in the permanence of marriage isn't unconditional love. Staying married out of cultural tradition and social pressures isn't unconditional love. Men think that women staying with them unconditionally due to political, cultural, economic, and religious oppression is the same as unconditional love. It isn't. As soon as some of the oppression is lifted, women leave because they don't love men unconditionally and shouldn't. A part of self preservation and self love is having conditions and deal breakers. What men are seeing now is that women are free to leave. We have conditions and deal breakers just like they do. We don't want to stay in relationships unconditionally, and we aren't interested in unconditionally loving someone who can switch up on us at any given time. So this is where we are in life. Women have more power because we have the ability to make decisions for ourselves. We're not ruled by religion. We're not ruled by men because we can control our own bodies and we can control our own money. Before, when women didn't have access to money, opportunities, and control of our own bodies, men controlled us because it was a survival thing. It was because of survival. Right now, we have the capacity to thrive in a relationship or outside of a relationship. And that is an amazing thing. And because of that, because men are losing their control over women, because men don't automatically get to oppress women, they are looking to people like these red pill types. So this right here is Fragile from Fragile and Froggy. And he is big on these red pill talking points. But when he talks about things, he is talking to people as if women don't have the capacity to work. Like we need them. We need to exchange being a bang maid, a live-in bang maid, for a man that can fight and provide. That is they literally say the same things. So in this interaction, Fragile, so he's talking to this preference and she's asking if he can cook. And he's like, that's a pointless question because if you don't cook, you're just going to be single. And he's like, can you fight? And she's like, but cooking is something that we all need to do. So she re-asked the question, can you? And I think that this is where a lot of men are struggling because many of them don't have the basics for survival. So they act like violence is the only thing that they are good at. Like we prevent violence, even though typically women are at risk of violence from the peen happers. And anyway, like literally, it's not like men are up and fighting someone away 2, 3 times a day. Whereas things like housework, chores, child rearing, making appointments, these are things that happen multiple times a day, multiple times a week. Fixing a roof, getting the oil changed, changing a tire happens every blue moon. Cutting the grass happens every couple of weeks. Nothing that women do on a daily basis or multiple times a day compares to the fighting that a man might do. And they act like women aren't providing for themselves.
You'd be single.
Can you cook?
That's irrelevant.
No. Can you cook though?
I mean, can you fight? Let's ask pointless questions.
How is it a pointless question? I'm trying to get to know you.
Because that's your job.
What's my job?
To make sandwiches.
What would you do?
Now for some of the comments. This woman says, cooking isn't a gender role, it's a basic survival skill. I'm glad we're pushing back on this notion that being born with a uterus means that you should be a chef, a house cleaner. I'm glad that women are pushing back because this is a societal norm that we're indoctrinated with, that we're socialized with. But now we're pushing back like I'm more than just your cook. I'm more than just your servant. Now, this person named Hagel Lewis says, I came for the triggered feminist comments. I'm not disappointed because, like that article that I just did, women are moving more towards being liberal. Men are moving more towards, being conservative or controlling. They're losing control because women are opting out. We're no longer property of men and they don't know how to operate. So they do this taunting, but it's not really working. Happy Rose says, so he's going to physically fight with guys to protect her 3 times a day, every day in his life. Like women are supposed to cook and clean all day, multiple times a day. This person says, so basically a grown man compares some childish-ish like fighting with knowing how to do a basic task in life. Someone at the bottom says, that boy will remain single. Dave, a man at the bottom says, so he's a child, laughing my butt off, embarrassing. I'm glad that men are recognizing that some of this is silly. I would also like to remind us all that this is one of the supposed logical leaders. It looks like he's saying, I asked for arugula on my salad and they gave me spring greens. How am I supposed to deal with spring greens? I do not like spring greens. I do not like chocolate. Ugh, they gave me some, gosh darn it, I am so angry that they gave me. But I demand to speak to, where's the manager? Where's the manager? I am unemotional, but I have demands. You are supposed to get things right. I deserve a regular. Oh.